The very last story that I want to leave you all with is a story about a real live mission that I had while I was at Fort Drum, New York. Has anyone been to Fort Drum, New York? 23 a few of you. 23 miles from the Canada border up in the Adirondack Mountains. It snows every month but July. I knew I was in trouble when they issued me my house and I got my own snowblower. Not a lawnmower, a snowblower. I'm thinking, I don't need this. It snowed 5 feet of snow on Mother's Day one year. 5 feet, that was the accumulation. The drifts were 7 to 8. On Mother's Day, when I speak to men, I have to remind them that's in May. Mother's Day. It was cold too. In fact, the Army was so good to us because if it was colder than -30, colder than that, they let us do physical fitness inside. It was cold. And I was there during the 1998 Great North American Ice Storm. 115 hours of freezing rain fell on upstate New York, Vermont, New York, New Hampshire, Maine, and big sections of Canada. The ice fell 4 inches thick on the trees, the houses, the cars, the power lines. 4 inches of ice. The roads were impassable because the snowplows couldn't get through 4 inches thick of ice, and the salt and chemicals they used to clear the roads wouldn't cut through it either. And the ice also fell on the power lines. The entire electrical infrastructure for the Northeast crumpled like paper. Over 5 million people without power, some for up to 3 months. And did I mention it was cold, right? This happened in January. Well, the entire area was declared a disaster and FEMA was activated, but they couldn't get into the area because it was impassable. So we got the call. You see, Fort Drum had buried our power lines, just in case something happened with the Canadians. I don't know. But we were fully operational during the storm. So we got the call from the governor of New York. The governor needed 2 Black Hawk helicopters to fly FEMA. Congressmen and women, state congressmen and women, the governor, of course, and journalists and support staff and supplies until they could get through to the areas. I got the call, I was on the mission. Now, it's going to be a tricky mission because it's still cloudy and clouds are made of water, moisture, and it's below freezing, and that makes science quiz passed. We were going to be flying in the clouds, instrument mode, in icing for the first 45 minutes of the flight. The second 45 minutes of flight, we would go lower than the lake effect line, where all that cloud was coming from, and we'd be visual. And when we're visual, we're not in icing because we're not in the clouds. So it's going to be a tricky flight plan, IFR to VFR, icing, in a Black Hawk helicopter. Anybody want to go? Tricky flight plan. Not to worry, the Black Hawk has a sophisticated anti-icing system. You see, it's so sophisticated I can't describe it all. But here's what you need to know. The Black Hawk has 2 engines. In order for the anti-icing and de-icing systems to work, both engines must be at full operational power. How many engines? 2. Full operational power. We get ready to go. I am going to be the co-pilot in the right seat. Derek is the pilot command in the left seat. He chooses to navigate and talk on the radios, and I'm going to be flying. Behind us is 2 crew chiefs. Behind him is our liaison to the governor, the colonel. Who's in charge? It's a trick question. You see, when we're in the air, the pilot in command's in charge, Derek. When we're on the ground, the colonel's in charge. We get ready to go. We take off. I'm on the controls. We come up to a hover. I'm good at hovering now, by the way. I'm on the controls. I'm hover. We get our clearance from air traffic control. We Pull more power, more power, more power up into the clouds. All white, can't see anything. The pucker factor was high. This one. Because all you see is ice building and building and building on all the edges of the windows. And you know it's building everywhere else. But I'm flying. Everything's okay. You know how it is when you get in a stressful situation? The longer you're stressed, the more relaxed and used to it you get. It becomes your new normal, right? I'm the only one that's happened to. It becomes your new normal, so you start getting relaxed into the stress because you're getting used to it. So we're kind of relaxing the stress and everything's going okay, and so I'm on the controls, and we're about 20 minutes into the flight, still in icing. Oh, shoot. You think that's what we said? Master caution alarm. This is bad. I'm on the controls. But wait a second. Sometimes when something goes wrong, if you have something go wrong with your car, you hear it. Something sounds different, you feel something. In the helicopter, I'd feel a shimmy, a shake, a hard over of the controls, some kind of indication that something was wrong, and everything felt normal. So we have to figure out what's wrong. We have a lower console of navigation and aviating equipment, navigation and radio equipment. We've got 4 feet of instrument panel we have to scan to figure out what's wrong. We have an upper console of power and fire control systems. We have circuit breakers behind my head and behind Derek's head, and we have to figure out what's wrong. And then I see it. 1 gauge, up and down. Now I'm still flying, by the way. But 1 gauge, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Fluctuating RPM on engine 2. Is this a good thing in icing? This is really bad. It's really bad. We need how many engines to be operational during ice? This is bad. And so I said, Derek, we've got fluctuating RPM on engine 2. I'm still flying. Derek is over in the other seat. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Emergency procedure! Is that a good thing? Who's the pilot in command? He is. This is bad. I found out later this was his first emergency procedure as a pilot in command. Okay, now what do you do? Well, we got to figure it out. So in that moment, I go ice cold. No panic. I knew what to do. You see, engine number 2 is over my head. And helicopters are loud, right? The engine, I could hear it steady. You can hear it. If the RPMs were fluctuating, would you hear it? Would you hear it in your car if you go from the gas to the brake? Well, unless you have the radio on really loud. It was steady. Instantly, I knew that the raw data from the engine went into a computer in the nose of the aircraft, and the computer went to the gauge, and that it was a computer malfunction, not the engine. We were okay. Derek, fluctuating RPM in engine 2, we're okay. Here's Derek. Oh my gosh, fluctuating RPM in engine 2, we need to take the engine offline. Oh, this is bad. Taking that engine offline would eliminate our anti-icing and de-icing capacity. Ice would form on the blades, the engine, the surfaces, and we would crash an $18 million helicopter with a crew of 4 and a colonel on board. What do you do? I argued, I'll get there. I argued with him the girl way. Derek, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think we should do that. You know, we're maintaining our altitude, our airspeed, and I'm pretty sure it's a signal data converter chip malfunction, so I think we're okay, so I think we should just wait. You think it worked? No. No, fluctuating RPM engine 2, we need to take the engine offline, and he reaches up and puts his hand on the throttle. Now what do? I'm hearing slap him. Here's the thing. I'm on the controls flying. If I take my hands off the controls to slap him, we got a whole new set of problems. Y'all are bloodthirsty. I can't hit him. I have to stay on the controls. I have to aviate. I have to maintain aircraft control above all else. So I'm still on the controls. Here's what I want you to think about. What are you willing to stand up for? What are you willing to believe in so much that you're willing to stand up for it? What are you willing to believe and be in that belief zone about yourself or about what you do believe in? To fight. Here's what I did. Don't touch that throttle. You want to wait until we're out of the ice and out of the clouds? Be my guest. I can fly this helicopter on one engine, but not in icing. You will not touch that throttle while I am flying this helicopter. Look it up in the book. The book's 4 inches thick. It's really hard to get to when you're flying. We didn't have iPads back then. And he reaches back and gets it anyway. Sets it on his lap, and he starts flipping pages to try to find the page, and I just continue to fly. We get out of the clouds, out of the icing. We could safely fly on that one engine, and I'm waiting for it. Nothing. Silence. And then we get into final approach into Albany, New York, and he clicks the radio. Crew chief, please write up this aircraft for a signal data converter chip malfunction. My response, good idea. I'm so glad you thought of that. We land, we write it up, we get the part, and we start flying missions, and the colonel comes up to me. Chief Mac, we have a mission. You're going to go here, here, here. I pull out my notepad. Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. We'll take care of it, sir. Consider it done, sir. Derek, the pilot in command to plan the mission. The next mission, the same thing. The colonel comes up to me. Chief Mac, we're going to go here, here, here. Yes, sir, we'll take care of it, sir. Consider it done, sir. Derek, to plan the mission. All week long, he's coming to me. Then he calls me into his office. Chief Mac in my office. Never a good sign. Yes, sir. He says, Chief, I know you don't know me, but before I flew a desk job, I used to fly Black Hawks too. Oh, that's cool, sir. I'm thinking he's gunning for flight time. Oh, that's cool, sir. He says, yeah. And I was up on the radios on the flight down. So you heard everything, sir? And I'm thinking, what did I say? This is not good. And he says, Chief, if you hadn't stopped Derek when you did, I was about to unbuckle my seatbelt, crawl over the crew chief, crawl over the center console, and stop him myself. You did a good job. And all I could think, all I could think was, oh, thank goodness I'm not getting court-martialed. Oh. Because I could have. Insubordination. Mutiny. He thought I was the pilot in command, impersonating a superior officer. I could have. And I would do it all over again. Because it was the right thing to do. You see, we all have an ability, a capability, and most importantly, a responsibility to lead from where we are. We cannot wait to be asked, to be nominated, to be elected, and we can't wait for someone else to do it first. When you see a need, you must choose to lead. I told some of you I was going to teach you how to fly. Fly is first lead yourself. Because when you lead yourself and lead by example, others will follow. When you live in that belief zone and you're confident in your abilities, other people want what you have. And you become the leader that way. That's how you soar in your life. When you see a need, step it up, ladies, and lead. We've got this. And there is nothing we can't do.